In terms of all of the accusations against President Trump, what does this say about the U.S. Constitution and our process or system of checks and balances? I don't know that it is really a commentary on the Constitution and checks and balances, because the Constitution is a document. Checks and balances is a process, and the Constitution doesn't operate by itself, and checks and balances does not operate by itself. It requires individuals, it requires members of government to ensure that the Constitution is properly followed and implemented, and that the power that comes from checks and balances is exerted. So I really see at this point, the failure of checks and balances is not the failure of the concept or the process. It's a failure of the Republicans to impose it, to utilize it, and to exercise it. It's the fault of Mitch McConnell. It's the fault of others in positions of leadership within the Republican Party who are so afraid of alienating that base of whether it's 38% to 42% of Republicans, particularly evangelical Christians, who are staunchly behind President Trump. Their inability or their reluctance to find the backbone to stand up for the Constitution, to stand up for the American people, and to stand up for the principles and precepts upon which this country was founded, that's their fault. That is not a constitutional problem, because it's very clear how the Constitution functions in this particular instance. It's not a matter of separation of powers, and it's not a matter of checks and balances. It is clearly a matter of the failure from a moral perspective, and it is clearly a failure from a political perspective for those Republicans in power, Lindsey Graham and others, to stand up against this president and stand up for the American people.